Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Watch Natalie, spelled N-A-T-A-L-E-E. You have clicked into the solar eclipse in Cancer astrology chit chat and hangout sesh. For those of you who normally are with me live, I'm so sorry it's not live at this eclipse. There's some stuff going on here, so I want to have the ability to record and stop when I need a break, do what I can do, and then come back in and continue right where we left off. So my apologies this time, but go ahead and get your Scooby snacks because we're going to have a lot of fun with this new moon solar eclipse. Okay, here, let's just dive right in. So the eclipse of June 20th or 21st, depending on where you are on the planet Earth, is an annual solar eclipse happening in the 0th degree of Cancer, and it will be visible. The ring of fire will be visible in parts of Africa and India and China, and it's really, really special. I'm going to start by saying we're going to talk about eclipses and what they really are and what they really mean, but first I'm going to talk about how eclipses are already special. This eclipse is even more special, and here is why. So for this special eclipse, what's happening is that the sun and the moon and the North Node, which is our destiny in the world. I don't know why I crossed my eyes, let's just roll with it. When they're all meeting in I'm a writer, where they're all meeting in a part of the sky that is the sun's most northernmost point in its entire ecliptic. It's as high as it can go. It's the northernest most point in the sun's ecliptic, and it's at it's when the celestial latitude and longitude meet. It's almost like a special room, a special meeting place where the sun, the moon, and the North Node are meeting. In your life somewhere, in your chart, they're meeting in this special spot, this special place to do their thing, to have their eclipse. She was showing me the Fool, like a ring of fire, the Fool energy as well. This is a new era for all of us. So there's a new era in your life in the matters of Cancer. It's a very strong, potent, forceful energy in the 0th anorectic degree of a sign. Okay, now a little bit about eclipses. Just notes that I want you to know that can apply for eclipses in general. So get out your little notepads and notebooks. Don't worry, I do have the usual paper. Okay, and I didn't write a headline down. It's just destiny. I don't want to dilute the message. It's just think destiny. It's just destiny, a new era. That's what I want you to think. Okay, just remember that there are two sides of fate with eclipses, particularly solar eclipses, because they're more rare. We have more lunar eclipses than we have solar eclipses. So leading up, sorry, I try to talk so delicately so that I can last longer. I'm sorry if it's annoying to some people. Listening to myself talk like this is sort of like, that's so weird. Sorry. Leading up to the eclipse, there's a strong sense of destiny, and I've channeled that on Patreon and in these daily readings that you guys have seen. There's a strong sense of destiny and fate leading up to an eclipse. The behaviors, the actions, the patterns that you're going through leading up to the eclipse, it makes you feel like you're on the track of destiny. It makes you feel like you are doing what's right or what you're supposed to be doing, or even if things are going wrong, you just can't help but feel that this is how it's supposed to happen. That's one side. That's half. This is half, okay? After the eclipse, there can be unexpected outcomes from what you had initiated before. That's like the eclipses are sort of like little magic tricks, because there's always like a two-parter. They always have two parts to them, before and after, and it's normally many weeks or sometimes months after an eclipse that we can even judge whether it was a beneficial eclipse or if it was a hostile eclipse in our lives, because there's so much that still continues to be revealed and to come out, okay? When eclipses happen, when they trigger things in our lives, it's realigning these fated events that realign us to be on our true path. That's why it's very dramatic, because it's to realign. And you think of a chiropractor. I don't know if you've ever been to a chiropractor. I remember he was cradling my head in his hand, and he said, okay, on the count of it's a lot of fun. Anyway, you think of realigning and you think, okay, well, a solar eclipse is when the moon is between the sun and the earth. It cuts off the light of the sun. A lunar eclipse is the earth between the sun and the moon, cutting off the light of the sun from the moon. So the moon has no light of her own. She reflects the sun. So the moon disappears in a lunar eclipse. And that's where we've been in the Sagittarius lunar eclipse. Darkness getting darker and darker until we get to this solar eclipse. Okay? Remember that eclipses happen in pairs, so that, and there should be some comfort for you to know that the universe is so well organized that your life is moving and progressing in a way that almost can be set to a clock. I mean, if you're a really incredible astrologer and you've been studying astrology for 50 million years or something, just trust that no matter how hard it is, that you're here for a reason. You're alive, especially at this time, for a very important and specific reason. You're here to witness and feel and just experience everything happening through your individual perspective, through your life. You experiencing your own life is the point. Okay, I'm getting, let's see, I just digress. I can't believe how much I digress with notes. I have notes. Okay. So, going through an eclipse, we can never go back to how things were. It'll never be the same again. You can't go back to a former situation. You can't go back to certain options that you had before the eclipse. Those options are taken away forever. Eclipses bring random, unexpected events, situations, or results. And the reason why is it's usually triggered by something happening in another area of your life, or just something happening elsewhere in the situation that will be outside of your control. So by the time it affects you in this way where you could be standing in front of a wall of gears, of a lot of gears. Maybe you press a button over here, and maybe over here a cup of coffee comes out. Okay? Because and you press the button and you see all the gears in the wall all moving and doing what they have to do to make the cup of coffee come out over here. You don't see all those gears. You don't see all the gears of the universe. You don't understand all of that. And that's the fun part, is to have faith and to go on your spiritual strength and watching that work, watching your manifestations coming through, watching life and all of those surprises, not even just in your life, but in other people's lives. Wow, that's incredible. So allow things to be outside of your control. So remember, leading up to the eclipse, you're initiating things, you're behaving in accordance to how you are channeling your energies. That's why after the eclipse, the results of that effort can come up in such startling news and unexpected ways. Eclipses speed up your sense of time and timetable. So something that you expected to take very long to happen, even buying a house or something, could be all of a sudden you're doing it right now. All of a sudden it's happening right now. All of a sudden you have to be here. You have to do this. You have to X, Y, and Z, okay? Sorry, I'm like impatient with myself. Eclipses are illuminators, revealing the truth, okay? Revealing a truth you never knew existed and might not have even been able to comprehend its existence. You might have not even be able to perceive that truth. This hummingbird likes me. This hummingbird comes up just to look at me. Probably because I'm like, Okay, sorry. Once you know this truth, once this truth is revealed to you, it can be what catalyzes you There's been more poltergeist activity at Casa de la Natalie. Once you know, it can be what catalyzes you to a major decision or an action. It's also very helpful for you to see the true character of an individual at eclipse time, okay? Messages. Take what you hear at an eclipse as non-negotiable, firm, almost like set in stone-ish. But the biggest thing I want you to take from that is to accept what you hear and move on. This includes breakups. This includes rejections. If you really are very heartbroken, you can try waiting 4 months later to the day for the trine. But I would take everything that you hear at eclipse time very seriously, even gossip, even rumors. I would take it all seriously and investigate. If it's something like gossip or, well, rumors, I would investigate, but don't automatically throw it away, because everything you hear, it's all information, it's all knowledge, it's all important. Also, don't give any ultimatums at this time. If you can at all help it, don't do ultimatums. That could really blow up. It could have a very unexpected blowback in your face, taking that kind of action. Also remember the golden star point that eclipses repeat in nearly the same sign and degree every 19 years. Timing. Okay, so think back to if you were alive 19 years ago, think back to 19 years ago. What was going on in your life? What had your full attention? What you were building? How you were feeling inside of yourself, living through your own life experience. Okay, now timing with these messages. Messages brought by an eclipse is usually delivered on the day or within a week of the actual date of the eclipse, but not always. If you hear nothing, think back exactly 1 month earlier or wait 1 month later plus or minus 5 days. A month to the day plus 5 days. A month before the date of the eclipse plus 5 days. If still nothing stirs for you, because some of us are more affected by some eclipses than other eclipses. Some of us, it's like, I'm just kidding. If still nothing stirs, watch for when Mars or Saturn or your chart ruler or, a powerful planet in your natal chart makes contact with that eclipse point, a conjunction, an opposition, a square, a trine. Okay? Because, like I said, all eclipses have a second act, and it could take months before we realize how that eclipse really went. So now is a better time to assess the eclipses in Cancer, Capricorn at the end of December and at the beginning of January. How did they go? What did they turn out to really be about for you? Wherever Cancer, Capricorn falls in your chart. Okay, so I know I talked a lot about like eclipses, but I really just felt like I needed to. I don't know why. I'm just going with it here. You guys know how it goes. So, this Cancer new moon solar eclipse has an interesting signature because of how I first mentioned in the beginning how the sun and the moon and the north node are meeting at the northernmost point of the sun's. An ecliptic is just its path, the path of the sun. The path of the sun, the moon's ecliptic is where the moon travels. So you can actually, if you were to just time lapse all of our planets in our solar system, you see those rings. That's their ecliptic of where they travel. Earth is perpendicular to the plane of the ecliptic. For this eclipse, the sun, it's a major destiny point, right? So that's where we're starting. We're starting with this new era, a new dawn, a new day, a new life, new era, destiny. So now we're just talking about things affecting destiny, things affecting our personal destinies, destiny of America, destiny of planet Earth. Now that's what we're talking about now. I'm talking about aspects. So these things are affecting destiny. And giving us clues of as to how it'll manifest. Okay. So we have the new moon squaring Mars, conjuncting Neptune in Pisces. So individually, there is a spiritually penetrating force that is giving you lots of inspiration to see into your future. For some, they will be challenges you must overcome to take your place in your personal destiny. So this inspiration can come from righteous anger of where your boundaries were being crossed in the past, and this is your time's up moment. For some, this is a lot of drug use this could be not even a lot of drug use, but this would be if you, I don't know what the correct verbiage is, so I apologize, taking ayahuasca or doing ayahuasca, I don't know. You know, people go to do ayahuasca and hallucinate and have these visions, spiritual experiences. It could be something like that too. So I'm not just talking about like, you know, it could be any of that, anything. There's a lack of reality here with Mars and Neptune in Pisces. And wherever you're drawing that other reality is either going to pose as a challenge to this destiny being fulfilled, or it's going to be exactly what you need. Like poking, I'm getting like this very poking energy with Mars, because that's his symbol. It's that poking. He wants to burst the bubble, but he like is the bubble with Neptune. So lots of potentially angry tears. But it's either going to be extremely passionate, where your other reality outside of our shared earthly reality could be from a place of inspired passion for justice. It could be in pain, really connecting with your pain, whether that's pain of the past, whatever. It could also be creative for a lot of you who are creative individuals. Pisces rules, actually Neptune rules modeling, glamour. It's very, Pluto rules television, but this is about imagination and being able to perceive something that doesn't exist in reality, and being able to use that to motivate you, it's a motivator to your destiny. It has something to do with it, and you make the choice of where you go when you escape. And we all need to escape for a little while. We all need private time. Okay. For some of you where that manifests as challenges, there could be more slander or gossip type energy. But listen, we've been dealing with Mars squaring our lunations for a while now, so I'm not really concerned about it. I mean, for the United States, this is the dawn of a new era. It's through communication. America as a nation is giving birth to a better reflection of ourselves. This is 6 months to a year. There will be more rebellion, a lot more. World leaders will be behaving either very courageously and very passionately, or like warlords. I don't know what it's called, the higher octave of petty. But it's one of the ways this can manifest in leaders. I'm really being withheld from getting too much into that about something I want to talk about, but I'm going to take a break. I'll be back. Okay, so I did forget to mention this. So I don't usually follow fixed stars or note them, or I don't use them. You don't need them. You don't need them. If you like them and you can absolutely use them. So I'm going to talk about it right now. So another interesting thing about this new moon solar eclipse is that it is also meeting Betelgeuse, the fixed star Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse. And okay, so Betelgeuse is, this is why I was saying before how the leaders of the world right now could either react with the energy of Betelgeuse. It's going to either be very courageous and warrior spirit and brave and like Legolas and Aragorn and King Leonidas. It's going to be like that energy, or it's going to be like Xerxes, King Xerxes. Okay, so here you had a warlord that I'm sorry, that wanted his people to submit to him and control them. And then you had King Leonidas who said, I would rather die a good death, live a good life, and die beside the men that I've asked to fight for me. We're comrades, we're brothers, we're equals. But he was a leader still. So that's how you can see Betelgeuse. I'm going to make that super simple. Betelgeuse is either going to make you into Xerxes or King Leonidas. And we're going to see that on the world stage. Getting back into what also is affecting your destiny. Moon square Chiron. A very special opportunity for you to give yourself a chance to heal and grow. If you are honest and vulnerable, you can actually burn through and complete some karma. It will feel unnatural. Just so you know, it will feel unnatural. You will feel uncomfortable facing these fears. It has to do with ego, with confidence, with passion, and beginning strong. So your egoic insecurities will be triggered here. Excuse me. Your masculine ego insecurities will be triggered. Does not matter. We do not even bat an eyelash over gender here on Watch Natalie. This is you. I'm talking to you if you're still here. This is your inner masculine egoic energy being triggered here. So whether you have authority issues, whether you have issues with beginning projects or going after promotions or asking for what you want or asking for what you need or having confidence or an overinflated ego is actually really a lack of confidence. So if you have that issue, if you're over confident in some things or in some areas, or all of that, balancing all that's going to be triggered. So it's being triggered so that, and that's what I mean by burn through karma. It's like chewing. I just see like a caterpillar chewing on a leaf and just like ingesting it. Like you can really eat this karma up, and the way it the way it feels, and I could feel this growing up. I mean, because I'm psychic, but I could feel when I was burning through karma like that. I could feel it. It'll be different for all of you. For some of you, it'll physically manifest in different ways. And this is something that I feel like, I know I felt it viscerally in my body. And I don't think that's just because I'm psychic. I think you will feel it in your body too. You could have headaches, stomach aches, you could lose your voice, you can have difficulty maintaining weight, difficulty losing weight, difficulty with, like, it'll just be some sort of physical manifestation of, excuse me, of the stress of this, because it's a square. So it's tension building for you to use it to, however this is happening for you, okay? In whatever area of life. Now, for America, it's a lot of pain and trauma releasing. Our painful past coming up to the surface, our concept of home, and who has a home, who America's home for who, and what do we do to make people feel comfortable here, or do we? And, you know, all of that. We will all be very triggered from whatever perspective we're standing. We're all going to be triggered with what's going on in America, because we're going through all of it together. No matter where you are, what you've done, what you haven't done, you're American. If you're an American watching this, and we're all going through it. We're all in it together, all of us. So, Americans watching the news and reading things and learning about other Americans, like, we're all going through this collective release of trauma. So, okay. The moon is quincunx Saturn. Personally, for you, a lot of practical value here. Help in prioritizing what your heart values and feeling a sense of responsibility to that. You're going to take your destiny, the next era of your life, very seriously. If you thought you have been taking it seriously, you haven't. And the 3 supermoons, remember that we had those crazy 3 supermoons back to back to back, have been helping with that. And actually, even since late December, early January, and especially in January when we had that, all the freaking Capricorn conjunction, over 6 months from then has been showing us more about what we value, what we prioritize. Remember, we talked about this in January, how Pluto and Jupiter and Capricorn, and how it was going to just root out. And then we had the Scorpio full moon. That was about a huge release. That was just like toxins releasing from the body. I mean, waste just being flushed. I think I called it like the Great Flush or something. And then I think it was the end of March that we had Mars meeting Saturn in the early degrees of Aquarius. Okay, so there's just been all of this has been leading up to this next era. The past 6 months have been leading up to now. Excuse me. Now we are being led into the next era. For America. Interesting. I actually look at the chart. There could be a yank on funds allocation. There could be like someone gets denied funds because it's not a priority. And that could be part of what's really being vocalized too, because with the first aspect I talked about, Moon squaring Mars conjunct Neptune, is actually in America's 3rd house of communication and neighbors, and so it's still going to be a very hostile environment in America, in your neighborhood. And then in our neighborhoods we have Mars and Neptune. Now listen, Mars is about to go into Aries. Mars normally spends 6 to 7 weeks in a sign every 2 years. Instead of spending 6 weeks in Aries, he's going to spend 7 months. That is intense. That's intense. So these new things starting right now. Okay, I can't get too off track. Okay. So those are some of like the biggest energies. Excuse me. biggest energies affecting your destiny. The backdrop. Now we're talking about the backdrop. The backdrop is Mercury retrograding, sextiling Uranus, trining Neptune, opposing Pluto, and squaring Chiron. Just be careful with your words. I don't want to dilute these messages. Be careful with your words. Be so careful. Everything that you say and type and commit to, just be really, really careful. I don't think it's a coincidence that this is happening. 6 months ago, I had the flu and I was coughing and trying to work, and it was like, it was very much a forced timeout from the universe 6 months ago. So it's like Mercury retrograding in Cancer, and actually Mercury retrograding in Cancer opposing Pluto at this lunation. Anyone born with a Mercury-Pluto aspect, you know that you could say something like, could you please close the door? And you have no idea why someone is crying. And you're like, what's wrong with that person? And you have no idea that what you said or how you said it. This is really funny that I have this voice thing going on right now. I have a Mercury-Pluto aspect, so I'm sharing from personal experience. Just be so careful. Just even when you think you're sounding nice, add more honey. That's funny because I'm drinking honey. Add more honey, because you could always sound softer and kinder, especially if you're born with this kind of aspect. And another thing, be really careful about speaking from your heart, because you could be also the one delivering truths to people on this eclipse. And it could happen just comes out. For instance, a great example is you guys are here in this video because you're looking for messages, because you are looking for more guidance that you can take and you can use, and you take what you can use and you discard the rest, and you think about your life and you see your life unfolding, and you use it to imagine what you want to happen next and how you're going to get there. You use our energy work in these videos to feel better, to feel centered, to feel calm, to feel confident that no matter how bad things might feel, that it's all moving us as a humanity, moving us all towards But growing up, teenage Natalie was sharing messages that were just as truthful and just as valuable, but to people that were not looking for this kind of catalyst for change. So in that context, it's extremely traumatic. And I communicated very scorchingly, where I would say something that was the truth and it would just like obliterate someone's psyche. And that's not what I want to do. I don't want to do that. That's not why we're here. So I'm sharing all of this personal stuff so that, number one, you don't feel personally attacked when this happens to you. And that number two, that you do your best to not attack someone else, even if you're just telling it how it is. And you know what? I'm not making this judgment. Maybe some of you want to say things that scorch someone else's psyche with how honest and truthful it is. I leave it with you if you want that. It's like, so keep that in mind. But for everyone else, just be careful, okay? Okay, Venus retrograde. Oh, this is more backdrop stuff. Venus retrograding, trining Saturn, sextiling Chiron. This is beautiful. This really is. This is long-lasting healing. That the healing that you do now can last forever because it's Saturn. And it can really cement this renewal. So it's like Mars is squaring Chiron. Mars, your ego, you want something, you want it now, you want to feel a certain way, you want a position, you're being very inspired and driven, you're pushing, and your pain is what's stopping you. Your pain is what's giving you uncomfortable feelings, because it's something about you going for your destiny triggers some pain for you. And has to do with what we said, ego, Martian energy, starting something. Maybe some of you have sabotaged success for yourself, and you couldn't really have that Aries energy to just go and grab your destiny. Or maybe you thought you did and you really couldn't, or you really can't. That's coming up. But you've got retrograding Venus, who's going to go direct soon. You have her connecting with Saturn, who wants growth and maturity. You have her connecting with Chiron. So there's the opportunity for you to take responsibility and show yourself some love for that trigger, for that pain, for that egoic nature. And the healing that you do will teach you how to take care of yourself in this other way, or in this new way, or what you heal will stay healed and become stronger and part of your foundation in this new era, in this new lifetime, in this walking into your destiny. Okay? Backdrop, Mars. Mars is connecting with the outer planets too. Mars is sextiling Jupiter, sextiling Saturn, conjuncting Neptune, sextiling Pluto, and squaring the North Node. This feels like actions that we're taking. It's interesting. I feel like if this were a natal... Okay, let me back up. Actions that we're taking are affecting the generation, because the outer planets are generational influences. And when they connect with the personal planet, like if this were a natal chart, I would say that this person has this ability to really sacrifice themselves for what they believe in, for an ideal, for a vision, and that they can actually affect an entire generation of individuals through that example. So I feel like, because this is like vice versa, I feel like it's vice versa. I feel like our actions are affecting the generation, and everything that we're seeing is affecting our own actions as well. Because our actions are from a very inspired place with Neptune there, remember? So it could also be from a very delusional place for some people. Everyone's going to feel the conviction, though, whether they are ethically or morally correct or incorrect or informed or ill-informed or misinformed, whatever it is, everyone's going to feel very convicted. Have conviction. Okay, we're almost there. More backdrop. Jupiter is conjuncting Saturn, sextiling Neptune, and conjuncting Pluto. This is more spreading, more philosophizing, spreading of ideas and new ideas. So that's through everything happening from broad to narrow is all being added to all of our banks to philosophize and build new structures mentally first. Over the next 6 months, we're taking it all in like these big sponges, and it's going into our brains and in our subconscious and our imaginations, so that we can build and we can create from that source of inspiration, that place. Last but not least, Saturn squares Uranus, like it's been happening, and conjuncting Pluto. That's karma. I'm just going to say that's karma. Karma. It's karma. I feel like Saturn squaring Uranus is just making sure that we don't run before we walk. And I'll tell you, that won't make sense. It fully makes sense until like 3 years from now. Okay, I'm going to save sign by sign for Patreon. So if you guys are interested in a sign by sign breakdown of how this solar eclipse will affect you personally, check out Patreon. And for those of you, I'll leave you with this. Just look for the 0 degree, that special place, that special meeting place where the sun is in the most northernmost, the highest point, and it's ecliptic, having a special meeting with the new moon and the north node and Betelgeuse, that area of your life. Holds the key to your destiny.